So today's video, I kind of want to talk about Valve's secret weapon when it comes to the Steam Machine and what they offer. Obviously, if you can tell by the title of this video and the thumbnail, one of the big things I'm going to be talking about and the one big advantage that the Steam Machine has over a lot of other devices out there. If we look at the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X and S, the Nintendo Switch 2, it's very limited on what it can do in terms of retro gaming. Obviously, we have the likes of Retro Classics, which is on Game Pass right now, where you can play a lot of like old Activision, Atari style games or television type games. But obviously, like, how many people really want to go back and play some of that stuff? I know there's some games on there that people love and they enjoy, but it's not really reaching the masses with some of that. Now on Nintendo Switch Online, you have something that is actually probably a little bit more successful than what they're a good amount is more successful than what they're doing with Xbox, and that is in terms of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, where you get to be able to play like the Nintendo 64, Game Boy, GameCube now, Super Nintendo, original NES, all that jazz. But obviously you're limited on to what they are able to do, as well as subscription based fees. With Xbox, you have the Game Pass. With Nintendo Switch, you have their expansion pack. And I do know PlayStation has been bringing back some of their classics and within the PlayStation Plus package. But here's where the Steam Machine really stands out, is in terms of, look, I'm a big proponent, a big fan of my Steam Deck. I think it is amazing. One of the top things I play on there is a lot of GameCube, Xbox 360, as well as Super Nintendo on there, and it is a blast to play, and it's amazing, especially with that 16 by 10 screen. It just sets it up perfectly for some of those older school consoles. We use another one that I think is really great to play on the Steam Deck, due to the fact that it is a handheld with touchscreen. It kind of it makes it very easy to transfer that over. And this is not just a thing for the Steam Machine, but also the Steam controller frame and the machine itself. All of these can be used intertwined with your Steam Deck to play all these emulation games that you have. And that's not even discussing the fact that each one of these products has an SD card slot that you can easily bring, like say you want to set up EmuDeck or something like Retro Deck, which are these basically all-in-one packages where you can download all the emulators you need to play whatever game that you want. And if you can install that in something like an SD card, you can transfer it over to your Steam Machine, to your Steam Deck, to your Steam frame. The fact that you would even be able to play some of these old school retro games on a headset is pretty crazy and mind-blowing if they can get it to work right. Obviously, the whole ARM thing makes it a little tough, but when we take in consideration that we already are emulating stuff on ARM with your phones, like how many people on watching this video now probably plays games on there. So it makes it really cool in the ultimate emulation machine, because it's going to have enough power to pretty much play everything. It's probably going to struggle in PS4 emulation, but I'm assuming with time and as we progress, it's going to be able to knock that down. And as the I think it's called Shad PS4, as that progresses in its development and it gets more and more optimized for all kinds of different devices, I'm sure that's going to be able to fit on there too, because at the end of the day, the Steam Machine is more powerful than that. And everybody wants to talk about the power of the Steam Machine. And obviously what we're seeing is that it's going to be basically a 7600M graphics card, which is if you want to go into GTX terms, I believe it's going to be around a 2070, maybe a little bit less. But and I don't want to go too deep into just modern gaming and everything like that. That is a big thing, being able to easily move this around. At the end of the day, this is a very portable console, that a very small form factor console that you can easily take wherever you want. If you go to your buddy's house, you go to your friend's house, making couch co-op very seamlessly, especially with the Steam controller and the way it integrates with the system itself. It's pretty amazing. And if you want to dig deeper into the whole power and the specs of the Steam Machine, look, I think at the end of the day, this is actually really good for gaming, because right now everything is very poorly optimized. Everything requires the higher end thing, and with the RAM apocalypse and NVIDIA talking about selling old GPUs again, I think we're at a point where developers have to stop developing for the bleeding edge technology and start developing for what people have. And I think having something like a Steam Machine to set that benchmark, that guideline for everybody to follow, is great, because if that can run it, then any other performance PC they're going to get, or higher end PC, they're just going to get that visuals and then with boosted frames. Because quite honestly, like to me, that's the way I rather envision it. I rather it be like medium settings is your Steam machine, but then if you want to crank it up a little bit higher or get extra frames, that's where it goes. Kind of like how Xbox has this standard, but then you want to get an Xbox Pro or a PlayStation Pro, where it's just a little bit smoother frame rate. It's going to look a little bit visually better and maybe load things a little faster. I feel like that's where we're heading in terms of the PC direction. Having something like the Steam machine to be that benchmark is great. Now, back on terms of the fact of emulation, I think the way things are currently going, it's so seamlessly to be able to do this on SteamOS, and I think it's just going to get more seamless as open source developers start to update their products and make it smoother and better. I think if you look at something like the Switch, I mean, in a way, this could kind of directly compete with it if you have a companion Steam Deck to go alongside it. I mean, just imagine being able to play Super Mario Wonder that you got from your ROM that you downloaded through a certain piece of hardware. You play that on your Steam machine, you're on the road, pop out your SD card, throw it in your Steam Deck. You are literally now in that realm of you're competing with one another. And you can even use other open source things like SyncThing, where it will automatically sync games who that aren't cloud compatible, which obviously is going to fall under that emulation tree. So to me, I just view this as like an all-in-one machine. Now, obviously, this is all going to come down to price because price is going to be kind of the make or break for this console. Now, I'm fairly confident that Valve is going to put out something that is going to be affordable for most people. It seems like that's just kind of their goal with this thing, and just in general. I mean, when the Steam Deck came out, it was a very affordable machine for most people. Like, and even now, you can still get a Steam machine, especially the LCD model. I know they're sold out on the Steam page, but you can go on Marketplace, you can go on eBay. I mean, I got my Steam Deck on Facebook Marketplace. Steam Deck OLED, 1 TB, the map display, for I think I paid 450 for it. And it was an incredible deal, and it was essentially brand new. Came with a case and everything, even the original box. The guy barely played it, so even something like getting it in the second hand is what Valve I think is going for. So I just don't imagine a world where the Steam machine is going to be $1,000. I just find that really hard to believe, and I think Valve knows that they have to be very, very strategic. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they're smarter than me. They're a very successful company. Who am I? I'm just a guy talking on a camera with a microphone. But I really have faith they're going to get it right. Now, I think it's going to be around that 650 to 700 range. Honestly, I think originally they were probably shooting for 550, 600, but I think everything's kind of going to bump up about $100. So, but I mean, we talk about emulation and things like that, but another big advantage it has is that it is a PC, and there is PC ports out there that are incredible. I mean, I was just actually looking at getting the with all the news with Ubisoft coming out with the Prince of Persia remake getting canceled. I was looking at, let me get some Prince of Persia games on Steam that Ubisoft put up there. Like, look, they're not going to have the greatest controller support, but that's where Steam Input comes, where even games that weren't meant for that are now able to be used because Steam Input is so great. And this is just not just Steam, but we look at a place like GOG, Good Old Games, GOG, whatever you want to call it. That's a place with a marketplace filled with tons and tons of former delisted games that they've basically revived and modernized and even updated in some cases to make it very smooth and runnable on modern hardware. So that's another aspect of it. And then we're not even going into the recompiling projects that we've seen. Like, for example, a big one that just came out was the Banjo-Kazooie recompiled. Basically, they what's the word I'm drawing a blank on? They decompiled the code from the original game to create to define the source code. Basically, then once the source code was completely decompiled, they can now go in there and tweak, modernize, add certain features, which is what they did, and then they recompile the code and then they shipped it out. Obviously, that is a very layman's term. I am a QA, so I'm not like a developer per se in my day job. So I don't know the ins and outs of exactly what they did, but I have a general gist of the idea. But even projects like that, and there's tons of Nintendo 64 projects that are on the way that are actually even already there. I think, the Zelda Majora's Mask. So these are just a bunch of different facets and different ways that you can have that I think the Steam machine has over a lot of these other consoles that either put a lot of their classic games behind paywalls or it's just gone and delisted. And I think this is a part that a lot of people don't talk about unless you're just solely focused on competitive shooters or the next AAA game. But look, let's be real. I think every true gamer out there is going out there and playing some classics that they love when they played when they're growing up. And that's kind of what this channel is all about. So, with all that being said, I think that is the secret weapon of the Steam machine that no one is talking about, and I think it's a really big deal. So, if you guys like the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.